Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first meeting of the year. Will you all please stand with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, and we are going to go right into new business. The first item tonight is the appointment of the Mayor Pro Tem. We want to appoint a Mayor Pro Tem. I am actually looking for, everybody knows how this works, I am actually looking for nominations.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Councilmember Paul Cock.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Warren's and Pedersen. Okay, and
I would like to make a motion for Councilmember Nicola Vaca.
I will second.
okay. Nick, and we have Henderson. Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. First nomination is Paul Cock. All those in favor? I'm going to go by, I'll go down the line. So yes or no, if you'd like to see Paul Cock. Councilman Loy?
No.
Councilman LaVaca?
No.
Okay. Councilman Burns, yes?
Yes.
Councilman Cock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pedersen?
Yes.
Okay, and then Councilwoman Kesty would
No.
be no, and Councilman
Henderson is
is
no.
no. Okay,
Thanks.
okay. So at 4-3, let's go on to Nick. So Councilman Loy? For Nick, yes or no? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Councilman Burns?
No.
Okay. Councilman Cock?
No.
Councilman Pedersen?
No.
All right. And then Councilman Kesty
Yes.
and Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Okay. So at 4-3, we have a new Mayor Pro Tem, Nick LaVaca. Congratulations.
Thank you, Council.
Moving on to the next item, council goals and the submittal template briefing. And, Charlie, I believe this is you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Johnson. Council, this is just a quick opportunity if there are any questions on the council goals template that I put out during the holidays to ask those. I'm happy to work with you on that or cover it more, but I've included the council goals template again in the packet here. You also received this by email. I think it was on December 29th, if my memory serves me right. I've already received one submittal, and I know there are other council members working on ideas. So just wanted to take a moment to see if council had any questions that I could potentially help with or assist with. And then the next steps on this process would be these are due on the 14th, so next week's meeting by about 5 o'clock ideally, although I'll give you till midnight because I'm not going to sit here in council and do anything with them. But we do need to get them next week by Wednesday, so we have enough time to do staff analysis on them and turn them around for the packet for the 28th. And then on the 28th, we're planning a special meeting from 4 to 6 p.m. To go through everything that's come in and have the council vet them down to hopefully a few projects, few goals, maybe 3 to 5 that would ultimately form your new goals for the 27-28 budget and potentially beyond. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of the process. The template's in there, but just wanted to take a moment to see if there are any questions.
Are there any questions for?
I have a quick, so I'm sorry, I read the thing, but it may have been in there. What's the next step after that? Do we meet and discuss as a full council?
Yes. So the concept would be you would provide these back by next Wednesday if you've got goals that you want to submit. We'll take all of those. There's a section on here for staff to write an analysis, so, we'll do our best to provide some potential suggestions on some action items, but also just a sense for what maybe that would cost and things like that, so the council's got more information when you start to deliberate on these. And then on the 28th, so 2 weeks after next Wednesday, that's when we'll have a special meeting from 4 to 6 p.m. leading up to the council meeting. And at that time, our hope is to make a lot of progress where we'll have all the goals that have been submitted and an opportunity for council to really pare that list down to a few goals that you find are your highest priority as a group.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Lavaca?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you for putting that together. As I noted on what I submitted and you agreed with is that those, the SMART goals, I did not actually add in any info because it's kind of determined upon the city with finances or how to best go about that, later discussion during those meetings, so that's good. How many total goals were there for our last session and how many are we looking for on this one? And what are we narrowing that down to?
Yeah, we had 3 goals. We have 3 goals in our current list. And one is related to comprehensive planning, one's related to parks and recreation activation of our park system, and the third one is related to the economy. So typically 3 to 5 is a pretty good number. And I mean, ideally 3 is even better than 5 from a staff perspective, because it really allows us to put a lot of energy into what you have put as your priorities. But yeah, more than 5 would be a challenge, I think, for the organization, unless those goals are pretty straightforward. But ideally, you'd have some goals that are more aspirational, higher level, and then we'd work the action items underneath those. And the action items end up being what's pretty straightforward. So yeah, 3 to 5, ideally 3. Okay. More than 5 would be a lot. I did 15 one time in a city, and I would never do that again. That was insane. We didn't get that much done, honestly.
On the goals, and we could probably discuss this in the workshop for sure, but on the goals from the 2021 and then the 2023 session, do we feel like we are getting 80%, 70% of that by the time we are looking at new goals or reevaluating the goals we have in
Yeah, I
hand?
expect we're going to make, I mean, we've already made some great progress on those, and one of our goals related to the comprehensive plan, we're going to need to work through that in 2026, so I think we'll be in really good shape on that one. We've made some good goals on economic development. We're still going to have some things to do. We're not going to finish everything that's on that list, but yeah, I do think we'll get to 70, 80% by the time we hit the end of 2026.
Okay. Councilwoman Kesty?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward for all of us, and I look forward to hearing everyone's ideas on what's important to them, and hopefully we can get some low-hanging fruit and knock some of those things out and then come together for the bigger ones. So thank you for that.
With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the governance handbook. Boy, that was hard to say. Charlie, do you want to kick this off, or do you want me to kick this off?
I'm actually, going to share this one with Kelly. So I believe Kelly wrote it up. But yeah, I can provide some background here. Yeah, we both were on it, actually. All 3 of us were on it. So a little bit of background on the governance handbook and the concept. Well, Mayor, you may want to jump in on this, since I think you brought the idea to us originally. So I don't know if you want to jump in there, but otherwise I can describe the concept.
Well, so I was listening to several comments that were made, in particular by Mr. Lavaca, but also by Councilwoman Kesty, where you were talking about you appreciate the opportunity where you can hear each other talk, give opinions, make suggestions, have that conversation regarding those items that you would like to address or see moved forward. So the thought occurred to me that because we don't have, when we do the council committee meetings, we do not record them. So they're not on videotape and the public does not see them. And also when you come back to the dais and you're talking about what happened in the committees, there isn't really in discussion. It's just more or less kind of a, this is what happened. And the idea would be that you would bring those ideas forward and then the council could have that discussion if they wanted to do that. So I thought, well, maybe what might be really helpful is once a month, so the first meeting of the month, which would be the strategic planning, we would take at least an hour. And those things that the directors have that may be of importance and they need to bring forward, they could bring that forward You could all have discussion regarding it. If it's something you want to put on future council agendas, you can do that. Something you want to table, you could do that. If you want further explanation or more investigation, we can do that. But that was the thinking behind this, was that everybody would hear it all at once. There would be transparency, that the public would be able to hear it, and everybody would have a say in what was happening on each of those items. So that's the thought behind it. I don't know, Kelly, if you want to add more to this at all, or?
The only comment to say how it relates to the council governance handbook is that the committees are set up in the council governance handbook. So if there is a consensus to make a change on that, we would need to update the handbook.
So, yes, go ahead.
Mayor
Councilman
Johnson,
Henderson.
thank you. I put a lot of thought into this. I read into it, and I like the format of being able to do that here in a meeting and have us all talk about it. But I was thinking about building upon that a little bit more. So at the beginning of the year, every 2 years, we'll do a calendar for like what each committee is, and that calendar will state that, you know, at the beginning of every 2 council meetings per month that we have, you know, pick your committee, strategic planning, and then we have public safety the next 2 weeks after. So to build upon that, the idea that I had was starting maybe our next council meeting, whatever committee is on the calendar for that, we have a discussion about what those items are. And then we build that into our agenda for new business. And then at the end of that agenda item for new business, we already have built into the packet what our next council meetings, committee meeting would be prior to it, built into the calendar already. So it'd be, you know, finance and IT would be the next one, and we would set the agenda right then and there in that council meeting. And then so at the next meeting, we can bring that up and talk about that. That would give great council input and communication between the staff. It would also hold the council and the staff accountable for the progression of committee tasks and assignments.
So the idea too was to make it simplistic, because oftentimes there are not things to bring forward. So you may find that there'll be 1 or 2 at the first meeting of the month where those items will be discussed. And then you can, if you want to, put that forward on the packet, put it forward for the next meeting or the next 2 meetings, or have it brought back in a different, with changes or whatever.
Yeah, I get that, but oftentimes things will get a little bit jumbled, or we won't, I mean, we could just be told, yeah, there's nothing to talk about for this committee. And it's like, okay, well, what about, you know, this that needs to be addressed, or that needs to be addressed? Well, then we build those agenda items into the next meeting's agenda, and then we talk about them. And to me, that's all about accountability, because we could go for a whole year without having committee meetings and just be told that there's nothing to talk about. I mean, honestly, we could, so.
Well, actually, it's already built in. So the first meeting of the month, it would be built in. That is where you would have those discussions from the different directors as far as what they'd like to see happen.
So we'd essentially be cutting down the amount of touches that we'd have on those different committees, right? 'Cause
Well, you only ever really had oftentimes just 1 touch.
2 per year.
Well, so, but there would be things that would be brought forward, and if there was never any direction given, then it was either dropped or we brought it back later. This is trying to give more definition to what it is that we're trying to do. So if there is something in the strategic planning that we bring forward, everyone has a chance to really state what they want to see happen or not happen, or to be added. And it would give, everybody would have a touch then with it, and then we could put that on the agenda and bring it forward. Which, part of the issues that we ran into was that the having to require the directors to try to come up with something when the meetings were scheduled was a lot of work and not necessarily necessary. So what we're trying to do is actually bring forth what is necessary, things that you do need to bring to your attention, and then work forward from there.
But those would only be in the first, from what this is saying, that would only be during the study session. So
But
then
if-
we have to wait a whole calendar month to get back to it.
No, not unless you wanted to do that. But if it was something that you wanted, say, Kelly to refine and bring forward as a policy or an ordinance, or to bring more information in, then that could come in on the next meeting. Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead, yeah?
I guess my two concerns about the current arrangement is that the information in the committees is siloed. So each of the council members, you may learn about what's happening then, and say in IT or in public safety. And, I've been chair of several of these committees, and, we basically don't discuss it very much afterwards. And you can bring it forward later. I think there needs to be some mechanism where we have the opportunity in something like this to all of the issues discuss with the directors. The second issue that concerns me on the committees currently is the lack of public access. It's somebody wants to watch one of our committees, I guess they can come in, but if they have all sorts of issues, including disability or they have mobility issues, then they can't participate. So I think there's flaws in the current system that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman LaVaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I like the idea of moving it like you suggest. I also like the what Councilman Henderson is saying about being able to incorporate that, and if I understand that right, being able to incorporate that in where we all have that before the meeting, and then we have an opportunity to add that. One of the challenges I've had since I first even started the council and the Parks and Rec Committee is I didn't really know who my liaison was. Charlie and Mayor, you guys were there. There's a lot of people that were there. Mr. Freiberg was the liaison, but there weren't notes kept or nothing was encouraged to move up to the council. I wasn't kind of mentor, okay, this is what we want to do, which is fine. Maybe I'm responsible for that. And then being new, I learned how it worked. So I went on to other councils. I went on to the Finance Committee and was chair of that. And I put forth like, hey, is there a way we can do visual data reports such as Power BI or something, so that way we can import the data, we can sift the data a little bit better, look at it. That never matured anywhere. In Parks and Rec, I had, a number of ideas, the pamphlets, the archway, things like that was just never matured anywhere. Same thing with Public Works, it's very informative. And I found that to be true with a lot of the committees, is it's basically the directors informing, at least on the committees I've been on, informing and almost heading up the meeting. And then we would be able to take that back to the DSCs and said, we had a meeting and this is kind of what we learned. Not so much where we had dialogue or interest to be able to bring things up. There are things like the grant program that was nurtured with Charlie and others to be able to move that forward. But for 4 years, that was the only thing that moved out of any committee that I know of. So if there's a way to get more dialogue and then have more input and a way to get that, so there isn't something that says, oh, we don't have anything to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about in all the meetings, we'd be able, with the 7 of us, say, actually, yeah, can we revisit that Power BI idea or visual data idea? And then move that to the next agenda and see where we go. Yeah. So I'm in favor of your idea, and I think it's great, and I'd like to see Councilman Henderson's maybe ideas to bring that on as well.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. So, if it's something, because there may be something in the month of January or whatever, that there isn't any new information that needs to be brought forth. We're going to see it already in our agenda. But I think what I like about this is that it's really clean. It gives everybody a chance to give their feedback and to have a say, and if they want it brought forward on the following meeting or to follow up within the next couple meetings, then that would happen. It's a way for everybody to move forward at once. Trying to do committees each meeting, that we're kind of back where we're at, and I think that would get lost and convoluted, but if you have, things laid out at the top of the month, this is what we're talking about, then you know that, we know that, and it's recorded in the notes, and then we can bring it forward and do whatever the committee wants to do with it, whatever the council wants to do with it.
I just feel like we lost so much, as a council member, or council members I witnessed, lost so much opportunity on actually putting stuff forward or ideas or getting things generated.
And this would give you the opportunity to do that.
It
Yeah.
seems like it's almost just, if we just go that route, or we don't have like a committee meeting maybe before our council meeting, then it kind of brings it back to where the executive branch says, hey, this is what we want to talk about, or there's nothing more to talk about, or these are just the topics we'll talk about amongst the committees. And we don't really have like, hey, let's spend a 45 minutes before a council meeting talking about strategic planning. And I think as a council, that would allow the bodies to come in. It basically increases our council meetings by an hour, right? But it allows the public and it allows the council to really chime in. And then as Councilman Henderson put forth, like that moves on to the next agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's just what I was saying.
Yeah. Councilwoman Kesty.
Thank you. When I first started on council, I looked forward to the committee meetings because initially I thought that it was going to be a chance to bring forward the ideas in which that committee that you're on. So whether it was IT or it was parks or the different things. And I looked at it before they got singled out each year, but when we brought it back to being 2 years, that you could really bite something off, chew it, and accomplish something. It just never happened. I feel that if you hopefully were asked which committee you would like to be on and where you could best be suited, you'd be able to bring an idea forward and hash it out with your committee and then bring that idea to the council, and then all they have to do is say yay or nay, let's do it or let's not. That way, if I don't say I'm not on IT and someone else is, and they very much care about IT and they're digging in the weeds about something, I didn't have to do that because they already did that for us and they're bringing forward the, peaks and pits of it. So that's what I like about the committees and being able to work within that group. I think that if we leave it that, oh, there was nothing to do, well, if you were in that group and you were asked if there were things that you wanted to perhaps talk about, there's always things within the committees each time to talk about. So while I like Alan's idea about being able to set in stone what they're going to be, like, oh, it's chair of IT this week, so this is what we're talking about. I like that it's going to be that way, so it's not just like, oh, well, which one were we going to talk about? Oh, I forgot that there was 4 different committees that we used to talk about, and now nothing was being brought forward. So if they were like strategic, which each month had what it was, then I'd be for it. Otherwise, I really would like to accomplish the goals within our own committees if we were asked which ones, or if we stayed on the ones that we were for those 2 years, so we could accomplish things.
You don't think bringing something forward among everybody and talking about it and hashing it out isn't accomplishing anything?
Not if it gets lost in the weeds. If it's not set for each month or every 2 or whatever it was, I think it could easily just be dismissed and minimized, that the council then won't get to speak about projects or things that they want to do. So if it was laid out each time, like, I think is that what you were saying, like to lay it out so that it was like IT or what have you each time?
Yeah, just follow the same calendar schedule we
Yeah,
have, but
then I would
incorporate
like
that in
that.
each council meeting instead of having a committee meeting beforehand.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious, what do other councils do in the county, Mount Vernon or Burlington or Anacortes?
In Mount Vernon, they all meet together and have a meeting and talk about whatever it is that needs to be talked about. I don't know about Burlington. I don't know if they have committee meetings. I'm not sure what they do.
They're the same as we have been previously. They do before the meeting.
And I do know Anacortes does as Mount Vernon does, and what I'm suggesting here.
Yeah, I just, 2 things I worry about. One is, it's good for the council to get as much information as possible, though it's also true any council member can contact any director in person or on the phone and hash out issues. I do have concerns that the committees, unless we find some sort of remedy, are a waiting public disclosure lawsuit. Yeah, we can put them online, and but that's also more staff work. But it's a concern. If we go forward with the committees, they have to, I would imagine they have to be online, which then raises more issues of staff time. But, you know, I'm okay with going to what you suggest. I think it helps staff, and we can still, any of us, ask any time for the information.
Yeah, and actually have a conversation with the director and have him bring it forth or have her bring it forth.
And we can have
At the meeting.
multiple conversations. It doesn't just have to
Right.
be IT.
Right.
That meeting, it could be IT, public safety, parks, anything that's coming up, and things change. You
Right.
know, I mean, there's things that are needed.
Yeah. Yeah, efficiency is really what I'm trying to get here. Transparency, efficiency, and the opportunity for everybody to have input is what that's what I'm thinking of.
It was just about, I don't know if Nikki's online, but the Disclosure Act, since it's 3 council members, it's not a majority, but we also should be keeping meeting notes. In most cases, that is completed. I don't think that that's violation of any law for us to have that. It is open for the public to show up, and there should be meeting notes of that meeting that's taken place as well from the liaison. So that has been done in most cases. Like I said, there were certain cases where that was not getting done on committees that I chaired, but that does. We're not in violation if we keep it the same. I like the idea of efficiency, like you're saying, and yeah, I want the transparency with, if it's online, that's great, but I just don't think that that wouldn't be a concern of why we would do it, because we're not in violation of any laws.
What would be the response for public, is Nikki online?
She's not.
Oh, I'm
it's a
just
workshop.
curious what the response for a public record request would be. Just our notes, is that sufficient?
Yep, anything we have written down, I mean, they wouldn't ask us for stuff we don't have written down, we can provide that. So, and we do keep notes of the meeting, we should. As far as like, it sounds like almost a proposal for a workshop in a way, or an additional workshop, and then we kind of work through that. I do see where some of the concerns that things may fall off. I think in the comprehensive plan, there were some ideas that the council put forth, but removed the acknowledgement and the land acknowledgement, but it didn't get manifested out into actual being done, even though it was discussed, and it seemed like a majority was in favor. It just didn't. So I can see, unless we're actually really on it, like, hey, we're discussing this, now let's make a motion to get it on the agenda, it might not get added on, even though it seems like a majority is in favor on the discussion. I've seen that happen a few times. And I know it's not meaningful, but it's just the nature of discussion. So we just have to, if we go that route, we just have to be on top of it.
So,
I have one more comment.
okay.
So I guess I'm confused what Councilman Henderson was talking about. So say it was parks or public works, you would have an agenda item. So basically you would discuss it once with staff and then twice with staff. That seems redundant to me.
I don't think we want to take up the staff's time, if I understand the mayor correctly. So I really try not to reach out to the staff very much, because one of 8 people, you being one, and of course I'm always working and reporting to you, so 7 people could take up a lot of time. They're paid to get the accounting and the paychecks done, or make sure the city's running, or, you know, getting people off the streets that are bad people. I mean, so I try not to bug them too much. So I'd hate to see us like migrate that. I think on this day I'm going to have this set aside for time.
Okay. So I haven't heard from Councilwoman Patterson. I don't know if you have a comment?
So I'm the new council member here. I don't have as much experience in practice with this, but my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the current system, we have these committee meetings, and then the committee is able to make a recommendation to the full council, basically at the, do they do that at the council meeting?
Yeah, but they
Just
didn't do that.
following,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, that's the idea, but it never happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would assume if we did one count and had a schedule like Alan's talking about, did one full council committee, essentially, that committee could decide on a recommendation, and then there would be a motion in the next council meeting, right? And it's during a study session where we're not making major decisions anyway, so it would just be like the next week that would appear on the agenda. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the idea that, and maybe there's going to be a couple of directors who want to bring something forward. But it was an idea of keeping it efficient, not having to have to try to generate something for a committee meeting, and, just making it a more, productive kind of council meeting. Councilman Lloyd?
Well, I kind of like the idea of everybody meeting together. I've always felt, you go through a year and you have committee meetings. I always felt that I got shortchanged more often than not because I only got the first person narrative most of the time you didn't get. So I always felt cheated. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Burns?
I could see how a committee of the whole really makes it more efficient for staff as well, because if they see a majority disinterested, they can move on. If they see a majority in favor, you dig deeper, you go further with it. I could see how that would really help not have to spend a whole lot of time digging into something just to bring it forth to the council and realize the only 3 people who might have been interested in it were the 3 on the committee, because they really do have that focus in that field. Maybe it's something that they really liked, but it's just not going to pass, and now we've spent how many hours on working through it. Think about the amount of time that the committee and then Charlie and myself spent on refining the grant program. And then if I brought it to the council and you all went, no, not at all, no thank you, then all that time was spent with some staff and with me doing a lot of research, and it ends up going nowhere. So if that came up in a committee of the whole, it could quickly get shot down, or hey, we like this, but we want to see this. So I could see where this would be a much more efficient way to have committee meetings.
So
One more thing on that, Mayor. I feel like if we do either group, which I think is a great idea, and you do get that full body, and I think that helps Charlie and the team a lot, put the same energy into it that we did with the grant program with the other committees, other ideas. Like I said, I think it was 4 years that we didn't have anything but the grant program. And it did receive a lot of support from the city and from the mayor on moving that forward. And so that took a lot of energy, like you said, many hours. But none of the other ideas that I put forth or that other people put forth received that same kind of energy or support, it seemed. And so I would say that whatever we put forth, we should put the same amount of energy to either go up, let's focus on it, let down, let's put so many resources to it if we choose to move that way.
And we could actually do that. We can make sure that maybe that's included at the end of the discussion, whatever that may be, asking the council as a whole, is this something we move forward with, or is this something that we table for now? Is this something we want more discussion on? Do we bring it back? Or, do we go ahead and put it into some sort of an ordinance or resolution or policy?
Can I suggest something?
Yes.
Well, so it seems like there's both people who like the committees, and then there's also some discussion of a unified committee. It's more staff work, but what about trying just leaving the committees in place and trying the unified and see if it replaces them?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, you do the unified committees, but you wouldn't get rid of the committees. Just as a trial run, just so people could see, oh, we don't need the committees.
So what would be the point of the committees?
But there wouldn't really be a point.
No.
They'd still be in place if people wanted to keep them.
Actually, everybody would be sitting on every committee, because everybody would be able to have input on every
Well,
discussion.
I
Yeah.
like that better. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
find a middle ground. So
I know you are, yeah.
I appreciate that, and I don't want to seem as if I don't like the idea as a whole. I really do. I just don't want anything to get lost in the weeds as far as if we didn't have the topics, so that we had them already scheduled, if you will, the IT committee, blah, blah, blah. If each month there was something that we were touching base on, the one that it really should have been, so that we know, okay, but we had nothing to bring forward, you guys have nothing to say, and it's done, just so that we know that we didn't leave anything behind. That's, I think that would also touch base for you, wouldn't it? Because,
Well, here's the other problem that we ran into, was that when we had the committee meetings, so say it was strategic planning, but something came up regarding parks, that was not addressed, and you had to wait until you had your parks meeting. This is something where if there are topics that need to be discussed and need to be brought forth by the directors, they want you to hear about this and they want your input, then you have that opportunity to do that. You have that opportunity to do that. And then nothing gets lost in the weeds because the directors are bringing it forth, you're hearing it, you're discussing it, you're making a decision regarding it, and it's not lost in the weeds.
so you're saying that they'll bring forward something, and then, but if it were, if it were IT, I just use that because that's the only one I can think of right now, or parks, but they want to bring something together for finance. Finance is the topic, but we could then also bring up parks if we had something at that time as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Part of the problem that I think was the biggest frustration for the directors is that when they were doing the committees, they would do a lot of work putting into the materials that they brought forth, leading forth a discussion. You all heard it. You'd have the three who were there. They would have a discussion. They would talk about it. They'd come back up here, and then they would report that we talked about this, but it never went forward. So what was the point of having that meeting? Because now, when we finally do put it on the agenda, you're having that same discussion that you would have had in the committee meeting. And this is something where you can actually put it on the agenda. Like if you want it on the next agenda, or you want it dismissed, or you want more information, then you'd be able to do that. It's bringing clarity and more working in step. We would actually be moving in step is the idea behind it, rather than this disjointed, oh, we talked about this, yeah. Because what we heard, I'm going to be blunt here, is that sometimes we would bring something forth, and the individuals who were sitting there would say, yeah, let's do it. And so then when it finally came forth and it was brought before the council, it was voted down. So we'd rather you all hear it, you all have discussion and know how you all feel about it, and then we make a determination as to what needs to happen.
Just a quick comment on the unified committee. We've had some really good discussions on this council before where it became fairly evident where what we agreed on, what we didn't agree on. And, it's good to have those discussions, and that would be a benefit of a committee of the whole. I worked at a big newspaper back east, and we would get together, there was 100 people in the newsroom, 15, 20 editors, and we figured out the paper in an hour. But everybody got to talk. Everybody got to say what the problem was, and I think that would improve communication, no matter what you do with the committees, because it would allow it'd give us more flexibility, like you say. If we have an issue that we can just address, then we could bring that up, and everybody would give their sense of it, and that would enable the staff to move forward with the sense of the council. Also, again, on public access, I've been in committees for 2 years, and I think I've seen maybe 3 people, 5 people total sitting at the committee. I don't know how many might watch it online, but it's the
Well, it's not online.
It's not online,
Not
right?
online.
So,
No.
that information and those debates are not going to the public at all.
Madam Mayor, I think, if I understand correctly, everybody does agree on the full council for a committee. Is that correct? I think I understood that from Councilman Henderson when he started and everybody else. So I think that's an agreement. And then I think what was your original idea, Henderson, if I get this right, is that have it planned out where this is where the meeting would be just the same way that we've had it, except on those meetings you could tie in other comments from other committee meetings into that, saying like, hey, we got through finance, that was pretty quick, there wasn't a lot to talk about, but this Parks and Rec thing is before us, maybe we can talk about that. I don't know. Can you clarify what because it seems like we're going back around about the full committee, but we've already all agreed on that.
I absolutely can, and I think maybe this is just a communication error. Maybe I didn't speak as eloquently as I should be able to. But yes, to add on to what you're saying, Mr. Lowacka, what my recommendation would be and what my idea is to have those during our normal council meetings, which we have 2 a month, and we set our agenda for the next month's council meeting based on what needs to be, or for the next council meeting based on what needs to be talked about. And then that way, that agenda's locked in, and we set our agenda, we talk about the stuff, and we're like, okay, well, maybe there's this and that need to be discussed. That way, we have the staff sitting right there, and we say, hey, okay, so our next meeting's agenda, we want this item added on, for this committee item. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to have 10 things from Parks. We don't have to have 10 things from IT. We could have one thing that needs serious attention from one committee and one thing that needs serious attention from another. But that way, we keep touching on everything, and we're not waiting all the way up until our next study session, which we only have 9 per year. Because we have all summer off from, summer vacation from study sessions.
Right, but if you brought up something in that study session, you could still carry it forward over the next 2 council meetings or more. The problem is that the staff isn't always here. The idea behind, and something that we could do, what a compromise might be, Councilman Allen, would be at the first council meeting of the month, which is the study session in part, that all the directors are here. So maybe we're only going to talk about something in public works or something in finance. But if those discussions wind down and you want to bring up something else, then the director is here and you could do that. Is that something that would work? Because you're not going to get all the directors here at every meeting. They already work plenty of hours and they don't need to hang out here during the council meetings unless they have something to contribute.
Right, and that's the point of setting the agenda of the meeting before, so going into the next meeting.
So
have
here's the other, so I hear what you're saying, and it's a good thought. So say you want to talk about parks at the second meeting of the month, but if there's nothing to talk about regarding parks, then the next meeting, which would come up, because we only have 4 of those a year, then the next time it's brought up is how many months down the line, 2 or 3 months down the line. This is just giving you an opportunity to hear about, what I think I hear you saying is that you're really concerned that there's topics that won't be discussed or they'll be forgotten. Well, that's never been the case as far as we are aware of. If that's happened, we're not aware of it. What we're trying to do is bring forth information that you need to know, and it's then your determination as to what you want to do about it. Have that discussion. Do you want to move it forward? Do you not want to move it forward? It's an opportunity to kind of, I don't know, I thought I saw it as really empowering you with the ability to hear each other, to have that discussion, and to move in, a unified fashion to make it all happen.
I like the flexibility of the unified thing. I mean, we could talk about parks, but maybe it's more important to talk about IT that week. I like the flexibility of it, and I don't know how you could envision. You could have everybody give brief reports. I don't know. It's not a bad idea, just to bring everybody up to snuff. I mean, we get those from Charlie, and I appreciate those, Charlie. Those are great. And I follow the police religiously on social media, and they do a great job in difficult circumstances. But I like somehow the flexibility to be able to talk about more than one topic.
All right, can I add?
Sure,
Mayor?
sure.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm being understood correctly, so let me
okay.
rephrase what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm hoping for is that we get more times to discuss things, right? We have one study session, which would be this session, and then we have 2 council meetings per month. What I'm asking for, or what I'm suggesting, is that we have those at our council meetings, so we have them twice a month. And if there's nothing to talk about at next week's council meeting, we can just say, hey, do we want to put anything on this agenda? Nope, okay, and it goes away, right, under new business, or whichever location I'm assuming it'd be under new business, right, Charlie? But,
Yeah, yeah.
It probably would be unless it was an item that we had been discussing for a long time.
sure.
Yeah, we just put it under unfinished business at that point.
So at a study session like at this one, I guess if there were things that we wanted to bring forward for, further discussion for a committee thing and possibly take action, that way we're a little more fluid, right? We can move a little quicker. That we just that to build upon my idea or to essentially carry out that would be to make a motion that, hey, next week on the 14th, I want to talk about Public Works, this item, under unfinished business or under new business, and then I'd get a second, and then we'd vote yes or no to set that agenda. Is that correct?
Is that what you're wanting to do?
If that's something that I wanted to do, right, or if that's something that we needed to do,
Yeah, and actually, you could do that at any time. You could do that at any meeting.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess if there's nothing that I want to talk about, I wouldn't make a motion. But if there's something that other people wanted to talk about, they could make that motion. Or if there was, staff had a suggestion, that like all of a sudden, Chief Wagner had an idea of, oh gosh, dang it, you know what? I wanted to talk about this for the fire department and, it is a committee style item. Hey, council, I had this idea and what do you think about adding that to the agenda? And somebody could be like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's add it. First, second discussion, passed, it's on, right? So I guess we could do it that way.
So, Madam Mayor, if I understand that correctly, it would be having the same workshop meeting and then saying, hey, Nate brought up these ball fields in Public Works, and we want to touch base on those in the next council meeting, and then we can actually bring that back and know to move that forward. Right now, they're kind of in limbo, because we mentioned it, hey, we had a public meeting, works meeting, and then I mentioned, yeah, Nate had this idea of ball fields, and then it just kind of, I don't think we've ever, like, hey, let's really push that and see if we can switch these or evaluate whether we want to sell these fields. So that would set that up, and then we would know, hey, Bill's going to be here next week at that meeting as a director to discuss it. But the other directors don't, because there's nothing else on that meeting. And then at that meeting, it could be like, hey, I do want to talk about this for finance. Maybe it's a little bit about the property tax or something, and something that's being proposed that would normally be proposed in a committee meeting. And then we would know Kelly, which is already here anyways, could be there. Right? It sounds like that's what we're looking at. So same as your idea, except being able to have the ability to add that on to the following meeting, giving them the idea.
Yes.
Which you can do at any meeting. You can request it.
I guess
And then you have to you do have to make a motion, I'd like to see this come forward, and you do have to have a motion and a majority.
Which does make sense, like the ball fields, we had that discussion in the committee, we brought it up, kind of talked about it, so I guess anybody at that point could say, hey, I'd like to talk more about this, would you guys like that? We have the councilman report as well as the staff report, but there's not a point after that that's like, hey, do we have anything from the committees that we might want to bring forward as a whole? And then we got the chance to discuss that. There's really it's very structured, so there's not a lot of time, and I don't want to speak out of term saying, hey, Madam Mayor, can I talk about this really quick? And it's not on the agenda.
No, it has to be on the agenda.
Yeah, so that's why I want to see that on the agenda. I think that's where Councilman Henderson's saying, like, hey, we should have a spot on there that we can say, hey, yeah, we do want to bring this up, and then that can kind of get talked about. So an area that says, does anybody have any comments on a committee that they've heard about, or any ideas from the directors that they want to bring forth?
So something like that, too, that if you wanted to bring it forward in, say, the second or fourth meeting, then we could bring it back to the study meeting, and then you would have the opportunity to have those discussions. We could still do that, too.
I think, if I understand Councilman Henderson correctly, he was saying that might be, we're waiting another month, or we're only getting 9 of those chances. Not that we have a lot of time anyways with committees, but I think right now we have, 6 hours or 8 hours a year that we dedicate towards committees. Well, it's like 45 minutes a session plus every committee twice a year. So are we reducing the amount of hours? Are we canceling it out? Or are we going to extend the council meetings? Or do we have a little thing on there that says, at the end of the meeting, does anybody have any ideas about the committees? You know, that kind of deal. So, Councilman Hunters.
Mayor Johnson?
Yeah.
Can I try something here? All right. I'd like to make a motion to add a line item for committee input per every single council meeting.
I would second that.
Point of order, could I ask what that means?
Yes. So we add a line item on each council meeting's agenda for us to, essentially for us to ask if there's any committee input that we'd like to add and see on the next meeting.
Okay. And if there isn't any, you're okay with that?
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
But there would still be committees then, is what?
No.
No
And
committees.
actually, it's just, it's actually, I don't know if you'd really call it a committee, it's more or less just a department. What do you want to hear from the director of that department?
I got it. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good compromise.
There is the strategic planning, which doesn't quite fall into necessarily a department, even though it kind of is. It's part parks, it's public works, it's also part executive, Charlie. So I think we just want to figure out how to determine that department as well. I think it might just fall under Charlie's department or Bill's department. But that's the only one I can think of that would be its own outside of finance and police and chief for the fire and stuff, so.
All right, so, so I heard the motion. Was there a second?
I would second that. Are we looking to reword that instead of committee to something more feasible?
Okay.
And maybe we should look at that language, well, or we can vote now, but on your motion, but we shouldn't we look at the final motion?
Sure,
language
absolutely.
there?
How would you like to see it written? I think what you're asking, quite simply, is that at the end of each meeting, you want the opportunity to say, at the next meeting, we want to talk about communications. You know,
Yeah, just a natural respiratory pause that anybody can throw something in.
I like it, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I would put it
ahead.
in.
Sorry,
new
if I may,
business.
Yeah.
just to clarify, so you're not, we don't need to do the, like, if you're gonna do that meeting at the beginning that Mayor Johnson was originally talking about, where you'd have everybody here, that wouldn't be necessary anymore, and you'd only bring in the staff necessary to whatever was brought up for that meeting? Is that your idea?
Yeah, because it'd be put on the next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that would eliminate the need to have all of them here for a meeting, so I could see how that would be more efficient there.
And so the updates that we normally get in the committee, that would be done in staff report, I would imagine, in the normal council meeting?
Yeah, you get staff reports from
Yeah.
Charlie. They submit them to him, and he types them up and
Yeah, well, like Bill, he'd come into a committee meeting and say, hey, look at, I want to create this new graph for the parks or for the roads and what we're doing for TRB projects or road improvements or city. And he had a new format and he wanted to show that to the committee before they brought it before the council. So in that case, he could just bring it straight before the council in that case. So yeah, it'd be, so would we not have, I mean, you would still have like a workshop to discuss. I think if I understand Councilman Burns right, you wouldn't even do a workshop to discuss what's happening within the city to know what would be on those committees? Because I've learned things on the committees that never get talked about in maybe a staff report.
go ahead.
I anticipate we would have more of these, more study session agenda items.
Okay.
I think that's a result of this different system.
Well, he's asking that they be brought forth to the next council meeting, on the second or the fourth council meeting.
Well, I think what I'm saying is in line with what Charlie's saying is that at the study session, the staff would say, hey, look at this topic's come up, or we'd like to discuss this, the budget's come up in the finance committee, IT with computers, stuff like that. And then at the workshop, they would discuss that, and then the council would say, hey, listen, I'd like to follow up on when you, in the actual council meeting for that line item for discussing topics on departments, they'd say, I'd like to hear more about that computer server idea or increase that Woody was talking about. So that would still leave time for the directors to report back as they would in the committee to say, hey, these are the things that we've got coming up that might be of concern or that you guys want to address. And then we would still have that line item in the council that says, hey, I do want to revisit that parks swap that Nate brought up 6 months ago. Can we bring that to the next committee session or to the next council session? And then we would have Bill, maybe Nate there and discuss it a little farther. So that's kind of how I would envision it. Is that in line with what you originally thought, or is your thought all mutated now?
Oh, you guys took it in multiple directions. You actually did. I just was making it quite simple. I just wanted it to be an opportunity for you to discuss whatever it was that was being brought forth. If Nate brought forth something regarding the parks, then you would have the opportunity to really have that discussion that you're having right now. Because as I can tell you right now, see, we're already an hour in, and it's one topic that we're discussing here. So if you want to bring something forth, we would probably put a time limit on it, because we would probably have an agenda that we have to get through. So if there's a discussion that you I would probably put a time limit on it. Yeah.
I wouldn't like a time limit because I would like to just get the business out, do what we need to do, cuss and discuss, and then move on.
Well, we do have in our handbook that really we're supposed to be wound up by 8 o'clock at night.
And will be bringing forward a motion to change that because I think that it's our night to be here for our constituents, and if it takes till 10 o'clock, we'll do it. That's what we signed up for. So I would make that motion to change that. I thought we had done that in the past, but apparently maybe we didn't, but.
Okay. So I'm not really sure what you're asking here. There was a motion by Henderson to make a motion at the end of each meeting to bring one topic forward.
No, there was a motion to have a line item added to the agenda packets in our standard council meetings at the end to say, does any council member have any topic they wish to talk about at the next committee or the next council meeting? Not to discuss it then. I would then say, Madam Mayor, I would like to talk about the ball fields again that Nate brought up. And then Charlie would write that down, that would come back on the next council meeting. And if there's a 20-minute discussion or whichever, I mean, that's fine. But I think that's what we have a motion that's seconded on.
Okay. So do you want to make that motion? Want to just write it out and say it?
I can, but point of order, we need to vote that first motion down, and I need to remake it.
Okay. Or you can pull it.
Got 30 seconds to write it down. I think Councilwoman.
Yeah, Councilman LeVac, actually, yeah.
I don't want to further confuse things, but I did like Alan's idea of kind of replicating the schedule. And I think at this stage in the discussion, this would just not be a committee meeting thing, but really a study session thing, so that we had like a calendar of what topics were going to be discussed throughout the year that kind of reflects what the committee calendar. I like that idea.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
One thing that, as a director, I find challenging about the scheduled committee meetings is that I often have something that doesn't fall in the schedule. Like, I mean, I created the schedule, and I still can't make things always line up. Like, either we're just not ready, or we're ready, we want to do it, but we don't want to like disrespect the committee by not bringing it to that committee first before the council. And then we brought up that big topic to council right before the committee, and then I'm like, well, we already talked about it. That's my perspective on it, that sometimes things come up outside of the schedule that would be easy to bring to a study session or a regular council meeting. So it does make it challenging, at least for the way my work functions. I don't want to speak for the other directors.
Well, but we do know from directors' meeting that they all feel the same way, so, yeah. So it was a matter of just simplifying it, trying to make the work more simple. And this really feels complicated, convoluted, really. Go ahead.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. So Kelly, do I need to rescind that motion and then make a new one? If it's
Ye-
been motioned and seconded?
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't been voted on, so he can rescind it.
Yep.
He can pull it.
Okay. I would rescind that motion and I would remake a motion to add a line item on every council meeting agenda as an open floor to add discussion items to future meetings by motion and majority vote by council.
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? All right. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to the last item of the night, which is the professional service contract. And I think, Kelly, this is you.
Yes, sorry. So let me flip to that page. So we looked at a professional service agreement with Azavar Audit Solutions to do an audit of city sales tax. What this means is the company would come in, well, they wouldn't probably physically come in, but they would work through our sales tax and make sure that companies are appropriately designating if they're doing work in the city of Sedro-Woolley to the Sedro-Woolley sales tax code. They wouldn't be auditing, they wouldn't do the work of like the Department of Revenue going in and auditing to make sure that they're calculating sales tax the same. But they would go in to make sure that the sales tax is being correctly coded to the city of Sedro-Woolley. So they would do the majority of the work, and they would come to us, ask questions. I assume they would need some level of access. So it'd be minimal work to the staff. In return, they would get 45% of all new revenues collected for 36 months. This is a contract we've kind of been going back and forth with, and I myself have kind of been going back and forth with. It would bring in more to ensure that the tax revenue being collected is coming to the city. But 45% is a high percentage for 3 years. So we really just wanted to get the council's perspective on this contract, if this was something you would like to see move forward.
Okay, any comments, questions? Just go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Just to clarify, this would be 45% of dollars that we would not have otherwise collected because we did not do this investigation to find out that the money was owed.
Correct. It wouldn't have any impact on revenue that has already been correctly classified.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Henderson?
Thank you. What liability do we have as a city for a business not paying us the sales tax that they owe to the city? Do we have a specific liability here, or are we trying to catch somebody?
We are trying to collect revenue that is owed to the city that has not been paid. We don't have any, to my knowledge, we don't have any liability.
So are we talking about like mobile businesses, like construction companies and roofers, or are we talking about Hal's Burgers?
Well, the company would tell us. We don't really have any way right now to know if those things are being done correctly.
I had a question, Mayor.
Yeah.
So I'm clear, Councilman Burns's question cleared up for me. So say we bring in, I don't know what it is, 500,000 in sales tax on an annual basis, and they find another 30%, then they'd get 45% of that $30,000, right?
Correct.
would they also have the capacity to go after sales tax that might require more of an effort? I'm thinking of like some big folks like Amazon that collect a ton of money, and I don't know that we get any sales tax from them.
We do get sales tax from Amazon.
Oh, okay.
But they would evaluate Amazon to make sure that that is being done appropriately. They don't go to the level of, like I said, like the Department of Revenue. They don't like go into the business. Like they're not going to walk into a business and ask to see their books to make sure that they're reporting all of their revenues.
So they're not doing any forensic auditing
Right.
that would lead to criminal referral, right?
Correct.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. And forgive me if I'm wrong about this company. I'm a little leery of someone who's going to come in and say, we're going to figure this out for you, but I get 45% of the take and I'm going after your constituents. So I'm not really for this. It just feels icky if the people are unknowingly coding their stuff wrong. Maybe perhaps we could, offer some guidance of like some work with the chamber on like, this is what you guys should be looking for, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to go after my constituents and pay a babysitter to do it, and then they get 45% of what they found. It makes me leery.
Councilman Lavaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I kind of agree with that because I know that we spent, I think it was $89,000 on the consultant for our stormwater assessment. And we know that consultants are very expensive, 30, 40, 50,000. This company coming in here to offer their services when they can't even go and check the books, they must feel that they can pick up that money on a 45%. So maybe there is $90,000 a year, $150,000 a year that's not getting picked up. But I like Councilman Kessie's idea to start off with. If we feel that way, we should definitely do our due diligence to make this a last resort and really push to say, hey, here are the guidelines. This is what your coding should be. This is what you should be doing as you're in this city. And even examining like, what are they doing that we can't do if they can't go into the businesses and actually scope the books out. I'd hate to, have the locals, for instance, or West Coast Dumplings or something like that, all of a sudden saying, hey, you know what, you owe this, and because you found out that you owe this, now you owe this back tax, and now you got this, and we're really putting a strain on already small businesses. So we want the taxes, they're due, and we need them for the city to run, so we don't have to raise rates all the time on everybody. But I think we can find a more equitable way of doing that without having a third party in at this time.
So the third party isn't like I said, it's not the Department of Revenue. Like the Department of Revenue can go in and say, you did this incorrect, you owe, $10,000.
Well,
It's not like that. It's like, and this is something that like I don't have an expertise in the back end of a business filing their taxes with the state. So for me to go in, I can't do the work myself. And no one's going to be penalized. You're not going to say you owe this city $10,000 from 2021 to 2025. It's basically moving forward. So you didn't code this correctly. And then we would have to work, they would do it on our behalf, work with other jurisdictions if necessary that receive those funds. So if you said you live in Burlington and you coded all of your taxes to Burlington, but you actually did all of your business in Sedro-Woolley, all of that sales tax could come to Sedro-Woolley. So this company would help us figure that part of it out, how to make sure that we got that sales tax, not Burlington.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I like the idea of encouraging people that maybe didn't file the right taxes, but where I have an issue with this is the 45%. It almost seems like that would be encouraging them to go after too much. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's probably a lot of issues with how they go about doing it, but it seems to me that to me, the 45%, I mean, if we paid them a flat fee, I'd be more likely to do it, but the 45% seems to me to incentivize them in ways we might not like.
Councilman Pedersen?
I just wanted to clarify, my understanding when I looked at this was that this company would essentially be doing a study for the city and not taking any enforcement action. Is that right?
They don't have any authority to take any enforcement
Right.
action.
So they would be working with us, and then the other piece that I mean, I guess I kind of assumed like Hal's and all of our local companies are paying our sales tax. And what I was thinking about was some of the online vendors that are used within the city might be coding their tax incorrectly, and that could be going to, I don't know, Arlington or some other jurisdiction. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. So we're not like going after consumers or residents of Sedro-Woolley who are ordering things. We're looking at to correct coding errors in some of these systems that are already existing.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilman Henderson?
Thank you. Councilwoman Kesty brought up a good point about the chamber and this being something that, you know, if we think we're having a problem, and I do know a little bit about doing taxes for a small business, if we suspect that, like, it's this much of a problem where we need to bring a company in, the Department of Revenue is going to smoke these guys if they're not doing their sales tax properly. Believe me, I've witnessed it firsthand. So I think if we feel like there's a problem, then we as the city need to communicate with the chamber and have the chamber essentially take lead on doing outreach to businesses within Sedro-Woolley and operating within Sedro-Woolley. Encourage their membership and encourage them to come to meetings and, you know, learn how to do all this stuff, because that's kind of what they're there for. I'm not really excited about this moving forward. I appreciate you bringing it, and I appreciate you admitting some of the reservations you had that, you know, we all seem to be sharing, especially with the rate. It almost encourages predatory going after people, figuring stuff out, when all we could be talking about is a simple tax coding issue, which can be solved by outreach. So I'm not really, if we were to vote on this going forward, it would be a no for me.
Okay. Councilman Burns?
I recognize Councilmember Peterson's point and understand that is what's in this document. I also can't help but think of like the Roman tax collectors who worked off a percentage and had a lot of incentive to dig up things or come up with stuff that didn't necessarily add up. And I'm wondering, after hearing what Councilmember Henderson just said, maybe if we could reach out to the chamber and some local organizations and say, can we have just a workshop and talk to you about proper coding for taxes to ensure that everybody's complying with the law, that we want to help you proactively find any errors in your bookkeeping before maybe the IRS should find them for you. That way it's a public service outreach. And we also don't give the 45% to the company for doing it, because maybe we find some errors by people just going back and double checking the numbers and saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I inaccurately typed that into my computer, or my coder who did this for me didn't format it properly and now I see the error. Just my thought on it. Thank you.
All right, are there any other comments?
Just another question.
Sure.
Doesn't state revenue already do some of this? Wouldn't they have some, they would see something that was glaring and follow up on it or not?
Well, I'm not sure they follow up. I'm not sure all the practices of the Department of Revenue, but they do audits. But just like, the IRS does audits, it's a sample, so, and they don't necessarily, in that sample, they might not pick up on somebody doing business in Sedro-Woolley city limits, but claiming they live in Burlington or
I see.
wherever they may be claiming their business activity in.
Because usually warning signs of a lot of small businesses failing is they stop paying their withholding and they stop paying their taxes. And something's wrong then, or they pay a fraction of their tax. I just imagine there is some protection for us against that.
Madam Mayor? So it sounds like this is a perfect example of what we were talking about with the committee meeting, finance committee, bringing up this idea, and then us having a discussion on it, and then getting a good feel. Like, it sounds like most of the council is not really into it. So that's a really good idea. I had a question, and I don't know if I can do that here because it was on the committee assignments. And you were saying that we would need to update the manual. We did make a motion. I don't know that do we need to still update the manual because the committees, or should we revisit that, or,
We'll bring the manual back.
Okay, that'll be a different
On
one.
a,
Got
it might not be the 14th because we have to get that packet out by Friday, but we can bring it back to a council meeting, and then the council can review and discuss, make a motion as necessary.
All right, so is there, so I have to tell you, I don't understand the motion where it says, motion to bring the professional services agreement with Azar Audit Solutions for the city sales tax audit back to council for a second read. So do you want it, is that the motion that you want for it to come back for a second read? Is that the idea behind it?
That's just a motion, but if council could make that, based on council's comments, you could make that motion and then, oppose it, and then we would not bring this back for a second read. Or if council wishes to bring it back to vote for a second read, we can do that as well.
Go ahead, Councilman Henderson.
So to clarify, if I make a motion to bring this back for a second read and I get a second and we all vote no, then it goes away, essentially. If we don't want this, we can make it go away right now.
Correct,
Yeah.
I think part
Then I would make that motion.
Okay, great.
If I may, Madam Mayor, isn't there in the Roberts rules to just postpone indefinitely or to kill the action as is without having to go through all this?
Okay. But he's already made a motion.
Well, I'll second that motion.
It kills it. Okay, so all those in favor to bring back the professional services agreement with Azavar Audit Solutions for the city sales tax audit for a second read, signify by saying aye. Okay. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, so. And Kelly, I wanted to make you aware, so I do know that the chamber is doing it's an all-day event. It's a small business forum. And I can get that information to you. In fact, I can probably send it to you. But that might be an opportunity to have that information brought forth and address it so that it does get out to the small businesses. Okay. All right. So where are we? Moving towards public comments, it's 7:18. I'll open it up for public comment. Anybody wanting to make public comment, please step forward. Your name, 3 minutes. I think I saw Mr. DeYoung, I saw your name on it. Yeah, okay.
Well, first off, Happy New Year. What a great first meeting of the year. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Carl DeYoung. I live at 1101 Fidalgo Street in Sedro-Woolley. And I know most of you, and I really do appreciate all the hard work that you put into representing the community. I was going to come up here and talk about two items, and that would have been the sales tax audit contract and the idea of replacing committees with the committee of the whole. Since public comments in the back end of your discussions, you guys have already resolved that. But I think it's important to note, which wasn't discussed, on page 60 of your packet, specifically section 1.2 of the vendor, I really had an issue with the vendor wanting to take charge of the ordinances and that the city couldn't start audits or change audit-related ordinances or contracts without the vendor's written approval. And I really feel that you guys up here are the electeds, and you have constituents you have to serve, and not a vendor that we have to go and talk to and appease to get their written approval of something that the constituents want. So, and I just think we're off to a great start, and I wanted to thank everyone for the time they're putting in, and I'll cut that short. Thanks for hearing me out.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close public comments, 7:20. We are now going to go into closed session. We're going to discuss collective bargaining agreement. And how long do you think we will need Nikki, how long do you think you will need?
She just came on.
Mayor, maybe 10 minutes?
Okay, so it's 7:20, and we should be out by 7:30, and if not, I'll come out and extend the time. Thank you.
That was me that helped you out.
And I liked it.
That's why I said it.
Get some feedback.
Yeah. Come on by, I'm sorry.
I hope that wasn't coming through. I hope that wasn't coming through. Yeah. Okay. All right, it is 7:32. We are back. There were no solutions. So our next meeting is next Wednesday. I'm sorry.
I don't have a big belly anymore.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's next Wednesday, January 14th at 6 p.m. And I don't know if you want to share a little bit. Congratulations on your appointment. And Joe will be joining us again next Wednesday because you will not be sworn in until the following Thursday or Friday, something like that, when the judge is available. All right. So we look forward to seeing you back. And then I know also, Nick, you wanted to make an announcement?
Yep, I will need the council's permission to take next Wednesday off.
Okay.
Sweet. I will let my work know I will not be doing on my trip. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. All right. And Nora?